Hi everyone, Simon here with a review of Core Defense. Core Defense is a tower defense game mashed up with a deck building card game. Sounds weird, it plays beautifully though. It's a PC game that's available currently as a free demo over on itch.io as Core Defense Prologue. The full game will be coming out in July, towards the end of the month, and the developer was really kind enough to provide a preview code for me to take a look at. I loved it. So I just wanted to tell you all about it because it's going to be one of those niche titles that I think might fall under the radar for far too many people. So you know what I'm like on those. I have to let you know. Okay, so what's this mashup all about? We'll start off with Core Defense as a tower defense game. You have a core, shock. It's placed in the middle of the screen and you need to defend that core at all costs. You'll be placed on a grid-based map. So you have 4 corners and that's where the 4 enemies will start to appear from, and they'll take the path of least resistance to try and basically kamikaze it into your core. When they do so, obviously that will deplete damage for your core, and if there's no life left, then it's game over. To stop them and to make them go the longest way around possible, you have walls, and you start off with 7 of them. You can place them wherever you want to try and make the path longer, or at least to cloud round and defend stuff. They aren't permanent when you place them. You can keep moving them between each wave, and that is highly encouraged, quite frankly. But at the beginning of every single wave, you'll get a selection of cards, and that's how you build out your arsenal of towers, upgrades, abilities, and modifiers that can help you change the gameplay or give you a leg up, so to speak, at the beginning of each round. Because as you get more powerful, so do the enemies. At the beginning of each round, you'll get a selection of between normally 2 to 4 cards, depending on the choices that you've made. And they will either be cards for more walls, very handy, makes things go round longer. Cards for towers, and you'll only get 1 of each type of tower, but you'll get offered lots of different ones, and it's up to you to choose which towers you want, depending on when they crop up, if they ever do, and that's part of the fun of this game. And speaking of towers, actually, you've got the motley crew of loads and loads of different types. So you've got like your snipers, your status effect ones. There's one called an ion cannon, which you can only point in one direction and have to manually push because it's a big, like, 1 cannon wave, and you only get that once or twice per round. There's lightning ones where it will affect like a circular radius around itself and do more damage the more that you have someone in that circle. So you've got a variety to choose from, but just depending on what actually comes up in the level depends on what you get. The third type of card is an ability card, and that could be to heal your towers, speed them up, slow down the enemies, freeze the enemies sometimes. It just depends on what you're up to and what the ability is for what you choose. The fourth one is all of the different types of upgrades that you can have for towers and abilities. And that could be for speed, it could be for tower range or ability range, it could be the damage modifier. It can also be specifically for things like there's a lightning tower with extra sparks on, and a shrinken tower where shrinkens bounce off walls. You can also upgrade some of the secondary damage on that so that basically the tower creates more damage for longer. The fifth and final type of card is what's called a module, and they will affect like passive abilities usually. So it's things like will increase all tower damage by 2% from now on, or every wave of enemies will give you 2% of your health back. It could be that actually it makes you more lucky, and because cards are ranked on a common, uncommon and rare scale, it might give you more rare cards if you pick the lucky option. But of course, whenever you're doing any of these modules or any of these modifiers, you may be missing out on not choosing a damage upgrade or a new tower or a new ability. There's a few things though that give you some really tight constraints with Core Defense that utterly change the gameplay on top of this choice-based system that you have from the cards. And that is that you can only have a total of 7 towers and or abilities, and that's it. So, and it's worthwhile stating that when you unlock a tower or choose a tower, that then throws all of their upgrade cards into the mix. So if you go nuts early on and pick like 6 towers back to back, they're all going to be quite weak. So it might be in your best interest to pick 1 or 2 or 3 towers initially and try and work on upgrading those before you bring in a 4th one. But depending on how you've laid out your level and how you've chosen to go around doing your business, it might be the best way to go for all 6 or 7 towers. Similarly, if you go for all 7 towers, you'll have no room for abilities. So maybe if you don't have a healing tower, you might want to swap out and not have a healing tower, but save your 7th tower slot for a skill to heal. It could be that all of your towers are slow because you're not doing any speed upgrades, so you could do an ability to make them speed up. How you play is entirely up to you, and the beauty of core defense is that trial and error of trying to work and see what happens with the levels that you get. Levels are seeded, so you can type in different random stuff. It will turn off Steam achievements when you do that, because there are set ones that you can go through for the actual quote-unquote campaign mode. When you finish a level at a certain difficulty, you can then basically crank the marker up, and it starts to give more advantages to the AI and the enemies that you'll have to overcome. So initially, on the first difficulty level or 2, you can get away with almost going through like a flawless round as you get to understand the game and also get to unlock more and more towers and upgrade skills and modules to affect the gameplay. As you then crank up the difficulty level, you're going to have more options to choose from, which it doesn't lead to analysis paralysis, but it really makes you think strategically about how you're going to play out something, especially if it's your first time playing a seed, because you don't know what's coming next and what's going to be really important. That then means that because you've only got 7 skills or towers together, positioning is so key. And as someone I love tower defense games, but I'm lazy. I will keep farming money and trying to fill everything in all of the slots. And you can't do that with core defense because you've only got room for the maximum of 7. However, if you've gone for a couple of abilities, you might only have 5. So then you're like, where can I go to put all of these towers into being the most effective possible? And hoping and praying that you'll get the right cards at the right time, or just working with what you've got. So that's the beauty of core defense. It is difficult. You will fail over and over, particularly once you get past level 4 on difficulty, was where I found not a huge spike, but it was basically where my tower defense chops fell flat. And there's 20 levels of difficulty, so God knows what it's like on the harder ones, right at the very end. I can only imagine me failing quite quickly. But yeah, this is a very Moorish game, may need a little bit of balancing, which I'm sure will come over the next month or so, in terms of making that difficulty curve a little bit smoother for people perhaps. But the core mechanics here are superb, and I think people might look over this because it's not a looker, but the gameplay here is sublime. So highly recommended. Core Defense coming out in July. Keep an eye out for it. You guys all take care. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in another video on Higher Plane Games. Higher Plane Games is part of the Higher Plane Network, a collection of media projects ran by me. If you like what you see and want to find out more, visit patreon.com/Higher Plane Network. Your support can make so much more possible, be that a like, a comment, a share, or a pledge. Thanks for watching.